By the time Blake reached the bottom step, his resolve had hardened. His fingers punched in the code with focused accuracy. The familiar thunk of the steel bolts preceded the equally familiar whir of the cooling fans. The positive pressure, created by the hefty air conditioning unit sitting behind the townhouse, sent a puff of icy air through the stairwell. It was enough to rustle a lock of fiery red hair across his right eye. He swept it back and pushed his way inside. Déjà vu. After everything that Blake had been through over the past week alone, one would think there would be nothing left in the world that could surprise him. Then, there was the note. A few minutes earlier, he had returned home with a head full of vivid images, a romanticized version of a life that would begin the moment he crossed the threshold of the Alexandria townhouse. He and Haeli, the way it should have been from the beginning. But with a simple paragraph, written in Haeli's own hand, he would again have to come to terms with the disaster he often facetiously referred to as his charmed life. Although he had left the piece of lined notebook paper on the kitchen counter, he could still see the words as clearly as if they were hanging by a thread in front of him. One statement pulsed in his mind. I need to go away for a while. There are some things I need to do. The sentence he should have fixated on was the one where she explicitly asked him not to try to find her. But that specific sentiment had been deleted from his memory the moment he decided to disregard the request. What things do you have to do, Haeli? What is it that we can't do together? The thought had occurred to him that there wasn't actually a thing at all, that the fictitious task had been invented to spare his feelings. The truth was, a week ago, Blake wasn't sure he possessed such a thing as feelings. Not the way he imagined normal people did. But his experience with Krista, Gwyn, and Lucy had caused him to re-evaluate that notion. Allowing himself to be vulnerable was no easy transition. Still, the result was good, even if the timing had turned out to be less than optimal. Blake circled the perimeter of the subterranean room. He ran his fingers along the racks of processors mounted to the wall. He could feel the heat radiating from behind the blinking red and blue LED indicator lights. In a way, the state-of-the-art computer equipment seemed a pathetic character. Built to churn complex code-breaking algorithms, the system was not unlike a greyhound kept in a cupboard, its powerful legs atrophying with lack of use. It had been some time since Blake had utilized the full capability of the system he had so meticulously built, if he had ever used its full capability at all. Before his dust-up with the cryptocurrency evangelist army, he had spent many hours a day in this room, locating, exploiting, and cataloging vulnerabilities in supposedly secure networks, maintaining classified software that he had built for the Central Intelligence Agency while he was still under their employ, building software for clients as a freelance developer after retirement. But since then, he had done little of it. This day would be no different. Except, while he had no intention of using the system to thwart a nefarious foreign government or to infiltrate a global communications network, he would be using it to find something much simpler and far more elusive: the truth. Blake moved to the center of the room. He lowered himself into the seat of the Herman Miller chair with a sigh and spun himself toward the desk. With a press of a switch, the terminal came to life. It was deceiving, really. The single station, situated in the center of the room, looked no different than one might find in any office. A few screens, a keyboard, a mouse. But it was merely an interface, an abstraction. Just as the buttons and levers of a fighter jet's cockpit enabled the pilot to unleash the beast's fury with a twitch of a muscle, it connected Blake's fingers to the awesome power of the system. I need to go away for a while. There are some things I need to do. At first glance, the note seemed a mystery. But in Blake's experience, there was no such thing as a mystery, only an unsolved equation. Haeli left Blake's home and his life. That much was a given. But where was she going? Where was her trajectory taking her? If he were going to solve for X, he would first need to define Y.